The matchless finds a contender and both compete for their owner's affection. Does it remind you of a love triangle again? The British motorcycle of the 1890s, Matchless, was always an army vehicle. Having fought through World War II, this olive beauty has seen the worst of times and has emerged like the phoenix from the ashes. But just when she thinks she is incomparable and has her owner's complete affection, she finds a contender in AJS who was in Ganesh's life even before.
The first time I saw this bike was when I was riding in my car. I just caught a glimpse of the AJ standing in Egmore. So I said, why not go and ask if the guy wants to part with the bike. Then subsequently I couldn't go because I was busy with, I was a student back then. I was in college and I didn't have the time with exams, and college life was miserable anyways, teachers and stuff. And I finally got to work, and I reminded having seen this bike in Egmore pretty long time back. I went to the exact same spot where I last saw the bike. I inquired around and I found that the bike was in disuse. It was half buried. Then I traced the owner. It was almost buried underneath sand and engine spare parts and stuff. Then I spoke to the owner. He wouldn't part the bike for all the gold in the reserve bank. Then finally I managed to convince him, saying like, the bike is going to the dogs. Give it to me, I'll give it a fresh lease of life. He seemed to like the way I spoke, or the fact that his bike is going to have life once again. So he said, Ganesh, you take the bike, go home.
Ganesh spent months trying to study the bike and saved money to source different parts. He went into details like the decals or the instruction stickers which he sourced from the US. The other badges were hand-painted. The valves, piston and the speedometers too were traced and imported to make the AJS look as close to the original. Though he is madly in love with the trusty Rusty, as he fondly calls his AJS, Ganesh travels all the way to Vellore to find her a companion, a Matchless, which he calls the olive drab.
It was in a running condition. I picked it up. I drove all the way from Vellore to Chennai. It came without any troubles, but once it landed, it did its job well. It came home and it lost its life, per se. The valves popped out, the carburetor failed, everything. It's a good memory for me is the fact that the bike did not break down en route from Vellore to home. And that speaks volumes about that particular bike's reliability. And well, it took me about a couple of months to sort out the issues with the valves and the carburetor and stuff, and slowly bring it back to the shape you see it right now.
A Matchless comes with blackout headlight, which means a bulletproof headlight. It has a rigid rear frame and an iron head. While the Matchless's shock absorbers are in the front, the AJS comes with jam pot shock absorbers in the rear. Give him an engine, wheels, metal frame and a few spare parts, Ganesh will assemble a bike back in no time. This hobby was sparked off when he saw his father on a bullet. Now, I couldn't resist hopping on for a nice long ride. That was thrilling. thought I'll just take a break and head to Pondy Strait. So Sarah takes over. She's going to take you to a grand show which spells vibrancy and myriad colors.
Now we all know the story of the pearl and the oyster. How the oyster coats the rough grain of sand, polishing it and transforming it into a shiny, smooth pearl. This story is kinda like that. The oyster being the Pearl Academy of Fashion and the shiny pearls being the 20 students passing out after the 4-year BA Honours Fashion Design program. Their 4 years of learning, tests and trials culminated on the ramp presentation at the Accord Metropolitan Hotel. Portfolio 2010 was a fashion show where each fashion graduate showcased 5 garments. This was their opportunity to put together technique and skill along with a dash of imagination and come up with the most impressive collection.
The whole process was a lot of research, a lot of work gone in, a lot of thinking, a lot of guidance and mentoring from different people. It's a very good experience, I would say. At this stage, I think we have come into the design world.
And so these brand new designers gave it their all, each working on a specific theme. Optical illusion, love drunk, dark poise, and deconstruction and reconstruction were a few of the themes. There were swirls and frills, flowy silhouettes, and body-hugging second skins. Now all the designers were vying for 3 awards: Best Design, Best Practical, and Best Innovative. Of the 20, there were 6 winners, with 2 ladies in a tie for 2 of the awards.
It was far beyond what I had expected. But what was thrilling was the confidence the students had in their collection. The design process that the students followed throughout the collection to put everything together was just, it showed, their dedication to what they had done, and I don't think any of them were afraid to get their fingers dirty to put this together, and it showed.
Anusha Balasubramaniam, one of the winners for Best Practical, had her models dressed in different shades of blue and aquamarine, reminding you of the ocean.
Well, my collection is primarily focused on resort wear today, and the entire collection is it's based on seamless garments. It's basically one geometric shape which has been cut up to form different silhouettes.
Now, some designers had some pretty unusual themes. There was a Gothic-inspired theme with garments straight out of a vampire story. And there was even one collection which the designer made for the Indian Police Force, a set of uniforms in denim, aptly titled Stand at Ease. But one theme that was a lot more unusual was the Cup of Solace by Neha Jacob, again one of the winners for Best Innovative. Her theme, when announced, seemed like it would be tough to portray. Can you imagine capturing the essence of a hot mug of coffee?
Coffee, it's more like a warm feeling after drinking a cup of coffee. You just sit there behind your window, beside your window, and you just drink the warm feeling, the cocoon-like feeling that you get. That's how I try to translate into my garments. So entire thing is wool, strugs, layers, that's what I show.
But the lady of the night was Kartika Prasad from Kerala, who won for Best Designer. Her brilliant collection had the right mix of fabrics and the perfect blend of colors. Her theme too was pretty unique. Inspired from the ritual dance form of Kerala, Theyyam, her clothes aimed at taking Indian clothes to a global level.
From second year, third year onwards, I was I will do something inspired from Kerala itself. So I took Theyyam. The person who is performing the dance form turns into God. The feelings of that person at that time, I took it as splash of colors. I took it in curls, swirls, and prints.
Portfolio 2010 was choreographed by Prasad Biddappa, the well-renowned and much sought-after fashion guru from Bangalore.
For me to come in from Bangalore and put a show like this together is always with your heart in your mouth, because you never know what the students have done. And very often we encourage young students to do quite crazy work because it's the only time in their lives that they can do it. But at the Pearl Academy of Fashion, the very first graduation program happening tonight, we found a level of sophistication that was very impressive. And I'm very pleased that Chennai has been able to put together a group of 20 young students who have such diverse and meaningful viewpoints.
All in all, it was a magical night, not just for the young designers, but for all of the faculty and other students as well. This, after all, was a time for many firsts for the Pearl Academy of Fashion.
With a myriad of colors, cuts, styles and shapes, with a great deal of noise and a lot of fanfare, these fashion fledglings are ready to go out into the world with their pearls of wisdom. Now, they've shown us what they've got and it's been great, but there is a long way to go. So we'll wish them good luck. Back to you, Pratibha.
Looks like Sarah is having a whale of a time there. If you want us to cover any such fun events, please write in to feedback@ndtv-hindu.com. See you next week.